throughout the nation and around the globe. From his heart to yours, it's Dear James Live, bringing you intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights. I'm your host, Dear James, with my incredibly fabulous host, the Lady Jaclyn. And together we join forces to bring you intuitive insights and human design wisdom on a weekly basis and review the current energies. And we're really excited this week to also include our LinkedIn followers and guests, because as you may or may not know, as individuals, this also applies to businesses, entrepreneurs, employees, leaders, executives. And so we're very excited to broaden the scope, open the umbrella even further to include your business questions, because throughout the broadcast, we will be taking your questions live, again, to offer you intuitive insights and human design wisdom. Hello, Lady Jaclyn.
Hello, it's so good to hold space for all of you guys again on this beautiful Wednesday. How is everybody doing? As always, if you're joining in live, please drop us a comment. That is how we see you. That is how we know that you're there. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And then if you're also watching the replay, hashtag replay, and let us know as well, where are you tuning in from? We love to keep this as intimate and as connected as possible, even though we're global. I still, every week, get so excited and thrilled that we're able to connect with each and every single one of you all over the world.
Isn't it amazing? You just said something and it clicked in my, it's intimate and interactive. And that's what we love, is that there's an intimacy to the Wednesday and Thursday shows and yet interactive. And so, yes, as you're joining us, please put in the comments where you're joining us from, say hello, and your questions so that we might give you the intuitive insights and human design wisdom and guidance that you need. And again, whether it's personal, professional, whatever the question is, we can do it, we can handle it. The universe will provide.
Absolutely.
So Jaclyn, let's kick off with the energies and everything. What are you seeing from a human design perspective in the gates and how this is affecting everyone, individually, collectively, professionally?
So we have been the last couple of days in the gate 25, and that is in the heart center. And the gate 25 is all about, I want to say, reconnecting with your authentic self. Like, we talk about this every single week. We're kind of like, in order for you to really feel fulfilled, feel satisfied, step into your purpose, you got to understand who you are, right? So with this heart center activation, it's kind of opening up your heart to create space for you to allow yourself to attract what it is that you're wanting to create, right? With that as well, it's also about love and an acceptance, right? Because the more you accept where you are and set the intention of where you're wanting to go, right? You're taking inspired action to get there. You open your heart and you open yourself and you open your life up to, or open it up to love, to receiving like the ultimate love, right? And so in saying that, it's kind of like this, with this eclipse season that happened as well, there was a lot of emotional energy, but there was a lot of like breaking hearts open. And if you think of what you maybe have been going through, it's maybe like you felt that, I know with the conversations that I've been having with people, is it feels like they take 5 steps forward and then they take like 6 steps back, right? The idea, the mind kind of tells you, oh, hold on, you're going backwards, or you're starting again, right? This last week and this last maybe month as well it's been a culmination of kind of reminding you that it is the process, that it is the progress, that it is the journey. It's not about the destination, right? So as much as you're dreaming, as much as you're setting goals, as much as you're planning for the future and wanting to create this life that you desire, it starts with accepting where you're at, not as like in limitation, but kind of knowing, okay, hold on, it's accepting where I'm at, dealing with what is coming up for me so that I can create space to actually attract more, right? So that's kind of what we've been dealing with. It's this whole idea and this energy of if you're feeling stuck, that is old programming that's potentially coming up for you, that life is giving you the opportunity to kind of clear. If you're hitting a lot of friction, I've also been noticing, I don't know if you've been noticing this on your end, but I've been noticing a lot of accidents on the road. And then I started processing, and I was like, me being the person who's super curious, was like, why are people like crashing into one another? Literally, like they are like playing bumper cars on the road. And I got to I want to say conclusion or like assumption that it's due to all the overwhelm and the fear, like that fear train, that's come again. People aren't focused. They aren't actually being present in the moment. They aren't focusing on what's actually happening. They aren't accepting where they're at, right? In acknowledgement, not that they can't move forward and that they aren't moving forward or that there's fear of moving forward, but it's kind of going, I accept where I'm at as part of the process, as part of the journey. And that's the story that's coming up that's really, really strong before I kind of move into what we're moving into, because there is a shift that's happening depending on where you are in terms of your time frame. But this evening or tomorrow morning, we're stepping into the gate 17, which is all that mental energy. The mental energy of actually looking to the future and kind of gaining inspiration and the curiosity of what's coming. So can you see it's like life is setting you up to clear, to remove, giving you the opportunity to accept where you are, understand that it's part of the process, do the work, the correct work, that we talk about, of actually reconnecting with yourself, removing what no longer serves so that you can step into that space, that openness, that love of curiosity. What's possible? What is the future actually holding for us? Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. And I'm always in awe, Jaclyn. This is what's so great for new people joining us and everything, or you're seeing it on the replay and everything. The Lady Jaclyn and I never sit down and talk before the shows. We listen to the unseen. We listen, we go as guided. She looks from the human design expertise perspective and sees what the gates are for the collective. I listen to the unseen intuitively, and we come together and we do the shows. And everything that she was just speaking to is exactly the current energies. And this is what's so amazing about this, and is I'm always in awe of the universe. I'm always in awe of the unseen in the tapestry, because as we sit here, the whole piece today was about, as I sat down, I said, what's the overall theme? And they said, execute-act with sincerity. And I was like, ooh, that's powerful. And then they said, the quality of being free from pretense, deceit, or hypocrisy. So this is the definition of sincerity, right? And today is March 23rd, 2022. So 3/23/2022. And all of the numbers, so the day is a 23, but that becomes a 5. And the overall energy, when you add the 3, the 23, and the 2022, it becomes a 14, which becomes a 5. So we got double 5s playing. But as we were looking at this, Jaclyn, and this is where it's so brilliantly ties to everything that you were talking about the first, is it gate 25? 25. Moving to 17. So going from gate 25 to gate 17. And here is this beauty of the synergy of this tapestry. Because again, 23, and they just kept coming back like 23, 23, 23. And I'm like, okay. So hexagram 23, and we've had this before, is about splitting apart, which means to yield so as to break through. And so here's this part that you're speaking to, which is, and I'm going to go to this really quickly if I can get it over here. There we go. And so in hexagram 23, splitting apart, and it says, all of life will not change you. It unfolds as a way to unmask you. And it's the beauty here, everyone listening, it's the beauty of laying down all of these masks, all of these identities, all of these things that are causing us to be, as Jaclyn was just talking about, like with the cars and everything, distracted. We're so distracted because it's, in a sense, it's like we're looking in the rearview mirror. We're trying to find ourselves from the past, who we were, as opposed to unmasking and arriving, welcoming, gate 17, welcoming the new us, the new you, the new me, And the new me is unencumbered. It's talking about act and execute with sincerity. We've spoken a lot about authenticity. And it says, there's a beautiful quote by Goff, and it says, life is a quarry out of which we are to mold and chisel and complete a character. And of course, that's our soul self. That's the soul chiseling, molding, sculpting. It's only the ego and the mind and the personality that tries to hold on to something, that holds all these masks, that tells you that you need them in order to be loved, to have something, the list goes on. And so here's the beauty, and this is, I'm going to just read these together. There are times when disintegration or letting go, so I got to bring this down, is the only pathway to regeneration. Po is a message about how things become stronger by removing outgrown elements. Pruning a tree allows its branches to become more luxuriant. In this situation, there is a need to release what is outgrown or which no longer serves you so that you can return to a path that is more fulfilling. We're returning to a path, but the path is new. The path is, like Jaclyn just articulated, gate 17. It's what's coming. It's the new. Sometimes you have to separate aspects in your life in order to achieve balance. A relationship that is in this stage can reach an impasse where either release or renew is at play. It can no longer operate within unhealthy dynamics of the past. Similarly, a relationship reaching a commitment phase can also become more stressed as each partner examines the other more acutely. Like autumn, leaves are stripped away in preparation for the rebirth of spring. When familiar landscapes die away, it can be frightening. However, this is how nature moves toward the next cycle. The time requires patience. Oh, there's that word, Jaclyn, patience. My new double P is patience and perseverance. It requires patience where emptiness can be returned to fullness. Some type of overhaul is taking place, so trust the process. The time requires great courage as you wait the situation out without acting until the way becomes clear. And we often say, the way. Not our way, not my way, not your way, not the highway, the way. What a delightful lesson in patience, where breakthrough would have been a time to push through the difficulty with action. Now you must acknowledge that there is little you can do to change events other than to let go and open to the inner experience. The hidden influence of Kun shows a need to respond inwardly while awaiting for the change to complete its cycle outwardly. So here we are, Jaclyn, right? We're yearning for this movement, for this action, for this, the intensity of the energies in the moment. But we're also trying to find ourselves in the future when we're looking in the past. It's not the way, it's like, we have this huge windshield, to use the car analogy that you offered. We have this huge windscreen in the front of us. But if we're looking in the tiny little mirror, the rear view mirror, to find ourselves, to see where we're going, we've really, yes, the mirror is helpful. The rear view mirror is there for a reason. But it's not about seeing where you're going. It's about seeing where you've been. What are you letting go of? What's passed you by? What are you releasing? And this is the beauty of this energy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's so interesting because part of the 25 as well is as you learn to accept, you actually then, I want to say embrace, and this, it sounds weird, but like embrace pain. And the more you're able to go through the pain, the more you're actually stepping into freedom. So if you're kind of thinking of what you're talking about, it's like, so we now know that our behavior is dictated upon our conditioning that comes from the past, right? So a lot of people are literally behaving based on their emotions, based on the the stories that they keep telling themselves about things that happened in the past, right? So they're basically behaving as if in the past. That's like Joe Dispenza's work. That's Joe Dispenza's work. So if you think about what you're talking about as well, it does make sense why a lot of people are literally living the past as if it's in the present, because they're not actually accepting where they're at as the gift, instead of going,
that it
okay,
is.
this is where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's kind of going,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just to tag on to that, I mean, look at the beauty. I mean, this is playing out. So look at it from a business perspective. We had a way in governments and so forth, the whole world affair. And there are so many that are trying to go back to the way it was. They want it to go back to this, everyone's just cranking away and you're in the maze and you're going. And there's a whole new world. There's a whole new way of being. It's arriving. Period. End of story. Have a nice day. The new is upon us and we are ushering in the new. So the more, and to your point, the more that we release the pain, release any, because, what's the definition of suffering? Attachment. So if we're attached to an old way of doing, being, whether it's personal, relationships, business, again, because look at the employees. They're all saying, okay, we're either going to unionize or we're going to do something, or we're wanting to work, to be differently. We're wanting to do it differently. That is the current energy that's coming in. And yet we have this kind of like stuck in the past / return to the past / have it the way we know, because that's safe. I don't want to go through the pain of listening to my employees to see what's the new way to do our business. What's the new way to serve? What's the new way to lead? And whether, and because this is going to, top down, bottom up, businesses, entrepreneurs, companies, they're people, human relationships, people, our own selves, people. So here's this grand opportunity, Jaclyn, that's what this is really calling out. And I love the beauty of the Human Design Gate 25 going to 17. Because of course, hexagram 17 is follow, be led. And that's soul source connection. That's a higher leadership, a higher consciousness. It's expanding beyond, it's moving beyond the pain.
And it's also the ability to see the bigger picture. So it's kind of,
1000%.
seeing the truth. Seeing
the
truth,
truth.
like you said, like the truth, underline, right? Big capital letters, the.
Right? It's true.
And it's kind of going, you're going to either jump on this train or you're going to be left behind and kind of be irrelevant, because it's changing whether we like it or not. And that's where the word acceptance comes from. It's accepting that this is part of the process. And it's so liberating, because once you actually you embody the practice of what it truly means to accept, you then allow yourself, and you're open enough to actually then embrace qualities like curiosity, like being able to use your mental strength to see the bigger picture, to get downloads of ideas or inspirations, to receive, breakthroughs, to have your own opinion that's empowering and that's not, disempowering, and that's like combative, like creating friction, right? So yeah, I think it's super powerful. Is it work? Yes, of course it's work, but this is the work that we talk about each week, right? This is actually the work. Is to remove what no longer serves you, to be open enough to receive, and to remember who you actually are.
Absolutely. And to have, again, to have the courage. Yes, it's work, as the Lady Jaclyn just said. Yes, it's work. But it can be, the more we surrender to the purity of it, to the sincerity of it, because that's this whole point of execute, act with sincerity, which is about authenticity, which is about accepting, making room and space for who we truly are. Who is the, they talk about you rising up to meet the time. We often hear this in terms of, greater global gatherings, whether it's governments or businesses and so forth, or philanthropy, charities and so forth, that you come together, you rise up to meet the time. And it's about having courage. It's about having humility. It's about having these characteristic traits that align you with the time, not a time gone by, not again the rear view mirror, not the past, but the arc, the beauty of the present moment, the present calling. And it's simply an act of courage, surrender, patience, perseverance, but it's commitment. Am I going to lead in a way that ushers in, that meets the time, the calling of the time? Or am I stuck in the past? Am I somewhere, bumping around, or, expending all my energy to hold on to something that's like the rear view mirror that's behind you, that's leaving, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. You know what's also super interesting is this the energy that we're moving into with this mental energy of the gate 17 is a logical energy, it's part of the logical circuit. So if you think of logic, it takes time, it requires time to actually master something, because it starts with an opinion, but it's just an opinion, right? It's like a hypothesis of, oh, this could be true, but is it actually true? And it requires time in order to master it, in order to perfect it, in order to bring it into form. But it's also correcting through patterns. So it's also correcting through like the idea of how you behaved, how you set your day, right? So if you're thinking of maybe you're also like, I know for myself, I'm in that like limbo phase. It feels like a limbo phase, but it's a lot better than the beginning of the year where it was like, okay, I'm ready to go, but what's happening? So it's not that energy. It's kind of this limbo phase of this. I've been through the process of letting go, right? Letting go the patterns, behaviors, thoughts, things that no longer serve me, as we've all been, encouraged to do, and stepping into the possibility of what is actually available for me already, right? And so this limbo phase, again, it's kind of going, do I force? Because remember, we've also stepped into the Aries season, the new, like, the initiator, it's like the starting point of the astrological year, if you're looking at it from, the astrology side of things. So if you're thinking about this idea of stepping into the new, heading into a direction that is new, but how you do it is then going to depict if you're actually going to feel fulfilled, satisfied, joyful, abundant, in your life. Versus if you're trying to force it because you're coming from a place of fear or scarcity or lack, instead of accepting, being open, having the balance of both, understanding yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, and again, the brilliance of the unseen, because you just talked about being in that in-between place and so forth, and then abundance and so forth. The other two numbers in today's numbers are the 5, hexagram 5, nourished while waiting. So here there's that in-between spot, and it's not that we're in a state of lack. We're being nourished while waiting, while we're ushering in this, as you were just talking about, the process, the changeover. We're being nourished while waiting, as long as we're choosing that. Because then again, the last number, the double 5, so hexagram 55 is great abundance. And what's required? It's about adjusting. It's about going with the flow. It's not about swimming upriver. It's not about swimming backwards. But it's in order to receive great abundance, adjust and go with the flow, because you're being nourished while you wait, because we're regenerating. We're splitting apart. We're releasing all of the past, all of the old stuff, all of the old ways, all of these old identities, all this old stuff. It's going away. We're releasing it so as to have great abundance. It's amazing. I love, and there's no, we talk about this all the time, Jaclyn, right? There's no mistakes on how the unseen, these divination tools, the human design system and everything, they all come from source. They all come from the same place. So again, whether you're an individual, a leader, an entrepreneur, a business, because all of this applies for everyone. The beauty of the intuitive and the human design system, these other divination tools, they're applicable to all. They can be utilized from a business standpoint to lead, to change your business, your world, for your employees. It can also, of course, be individualized to ourselves, and then, of course, to our relationships, our familial ones, our romantic ones, our friendships. So all of this plays beautifully together.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because we literally are, it's like, I want to say almost polar opposites, but it's not. Because if you look at the 25, it's all about that love, and then it comes from the heart center. And then you look at the 17, it's very mental energy, very logical. So then again, the conditioning comes through very strongly about being self-critical or judging and being opinionated, and then you kind of see where that energy, comes through. So maybe you're already dealing with those kind of people, or maybe you're surrounded, or maybe you're feeling very opinionated about a certain aspect. So it almost feels like there's a contrast, but again, there's a beautiful balance, because when you're in your heart and when you're in your authenticity and when you're really standing in your personal power with courage and confidence, doesn't mean you're not experiencing fear. We talk about this all the time. It's part of the human experience. But when you're standing in your personal strength and personal power and the confidence of knowing yourself and trusting the process, then you catch yourself having moments of being self-critical or doubting or questioning or being opinionated or judging, but it's brief moments. It's like milliseconds of, oh, hold on, that was actually not in alignment with my authentic self, and therefore you remain in a consistent state that is actually in alignment with the life that you're wanting to attract, which is so beautiful. And over the last week, we've really been, what actually feels like more than a week, but the energies, talk about this week as being this opportunity to heal those things, those deep-rooted traumas, heal those, those
Right.
wounds. And once you do, you actually, you feel it, you notice it, your life actually changes.
You expand, right? You're empowered, you
ahead.
expand. No, yeah, just tagging in with you. It's like, that's the beauty of this, right? Face the pain, surrender the fear, surrender it so as to be empowered. It's that simple. And it's only our attachment that's causing us suffering, pain, lack. It's keeping us from the energy that's arriving, So are you rising up to meet the time? And that's across the board. And how quickly are you doing it? How quickly do you release, surrender, so as to flow, so as to receive? It's so brilliant.
And also, I think it's like there's a thing that popped into my head as well now quickly, is the fighting energy, because I mean, obviously we've stepped into the Aries, so that's like the warrior energy, and it's kind of asking yourself, what is worth fighting for? And is this the battle that I actually want to put my energy into? Is it going to be empowering for me, which is then going to in turn be empowering for those around me? So it's kind of not focusing so much on trying to change the other, the external. We talk about this a lot of times. It's like your external world is based on what's happening internally with you. But part of the human experience and part of the way we've been conditioned is that when you're in a relationship, or when you're dealing with, work colleagues, or when you're dealing with partners, or when you're dealing with clients, whatever the case is, when you're dealing with people, they're mirroring back to you what is out of balance internally. So again, it's not about them changing, or it's about pointing fingers outward, or it's kind of wanting the situation or the experience to change or to go in the way that you're wanting it to go. But it's kind of acknowledging and accepting again what is on offer for you, to see what's happening internally, to figure out how you are out of alignment, how you are not expressing your truth, not standing in your confidence, not, valuing yourself. And then that is then the work, and that's the time, that's the space that we've been given at the moment to really acknowledge that. And it tends to happen through people. It tends to happen through relationships. I talk about it a lot. And I think it's just because I've been cycling on the road, so this is probably why I use the analogy on the road all the time. But it's like when people cut you off, or when people drive, like, they're not following the road rules, And then immediately you want to kind of like curse at them or judge them and kind of go, listen, you're doing something wrong, like, which is causing me, like disharmony. But in actual fact, you don't know what's happening in their world, and why is it triggering you so much? Like that internal thing comes up for you. And that's the juiciness, I almost want to say, that life that's on offer for us at the moment to clear, so that we can really bring in what's already waiting for you, all of us.
And there's something here, Jaclyn, because going to the piece about about Aries, right? And Aries, the ram, the lamb, this actionary force. And there's a beautiful statement, and then against the backdrop of nourished while waiting. So here in your analogy of what you just stated, do you go to the aggressive part? Do you go to that, that kill or be killed action, energy? Or do you have grace in the moment to say, okay, let me be nourished in this moment. Let me be nourished while I'm waiting. And the piece about Aries, they say that there's a beautiful saying, I believe it's associated with the tarot, and it speaks about, the general, the great general isn't the one that spills blood on the battlefield. It's the one through diplomacy and grace and so forth achieves their goals. And so again, this can be applied. So with the Aries energy, the light side, the positive aspect of the Aries energy, it's the first out of the gate. It's the first of the astrological season. So it has this entrepreneurial, force, this beautiful Mars energy, this, it need not be aggressive. It can simply be erudite, that we're upright and that we have this sense of entrepreneurialism and we want to go out and seek the new and achieve things. And thereby we do it in a harmonic, balanced, graceful, grace-filled way. We can lead our lives, we can lead companies and people and nations and so forth by example, by sincerity. I mean, this was the goal, act with sincerity. It's so applicable and true in the moment of what you were just saying. Hello, Lori. Again, if you're joining us, please put in the comments so that we know that you're there. That's the only way that we can see you and know that you're joining us. And if you have questions for the Lady Jaclyn and myself, we will answer them from an intuitive and human design perspective. So please put your comments or questions in the comments, and we will address them throughout the broadcast. Lori, Lori has a comment. I will have to go.
She said
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Jump in. No, go ahead. Jump in.
She said she'll have to go back and rewatch the first half because she said we always have such great guidance and she doesn't want to miss a second. So thank you, Lori, for that. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yes, and there's, Jaclyn often uses this word juicy, and I love it. It's her word. And we all get the pleasure of mimicking in the most positive way. It's a juicy time, right? I mean, it's a juicy time from the standpoint of we all have an opportunity to allow this splitting apart, this releasing of the past, whether it's solely ourselves, our internal releasing of masks and identities and stories and all of these things that we've told ourselves, or again, the way of the world, the companies and governments and corporations and all of that, small businesses, we can release the old so as to be nourished while we wait, discern, see what's going on, read the room, read the energies, because we don't live in a vacuum. And you spoke to this earlier. We are all feeling the new, the energy coming in, the Aquarian age, this transfer of power, this transfer of being, the way we live. And so your choice is, because we're feeling it, so am I engaging it in a positive way? Or am I doing it in a way where I'm trying to live through the rear view mirror? Am I looking forward with the open windscreen? Or am I looking through the rear view mirror? Can you imagine trying to drive a vehicle on the Autobahn or something, Jaclyn, with one tiny
Mm-hmm.
little, your windscreen is the rear view mirror,
Mm-hmm.
or drive it backwards? You know, that you have to drive
Yeah.
backwards looking through your rear view mirror.
Mm-hmm. And that also speaks to kind of the forcing. You know, like you were talking about the
Yes.
aggression of the Aries, and that's definitely the shadow side of it, you know, but the part as well that comes to play, and I know this because I mean literally this is my month or my
It
sign,
is.
is
I was
like
going to say earlier, you don't know anything about Aries. I mean, it's just
yeah,
completely
I
lost
don't know
on you.
anything about Aries.
You're like, huh?
Like nothing at all. Part of this is the
Checkbox.
fighting, yeah, the forcing, the going to battle with yourself, you know, instead of the allowing and the accepting. And it's a big thing. It's a big thing that you're embracing, because there's a part of you, especially how you, it depends on how you've been conditioned, right? It depends on the set of values that you were given as a kid. It depends on the environment that you grew up in. It depends on, you know, coping mechanism. It depends on so many different things. But it's like this idea that you don't have to fight to
No.
make it happen. The idea that it is already happening because you are here. You, just by your very nature of being alive, is supposed to be abundant. It's supposed to be successful. It's supposed to have everything that your heart desires, that your heart truly desires, right? It's supposed to have the love and adoration and fulfillment and joy and happiness and all the things that you can add into that sentence, right? So the work that we're talking about always each week is really acknowledging where you're kind of keeping yourself from, you're kind of standing in the way of your own whatever it is that you desire, right?
Fulfillment.
And that's I think the juiciness of the Aries, of the start, you know, of the start of this astrological year, is kind of going, what you want is already there waiting for you because you want it, right? So the work is to get in alignment with it so that you can actually manifest it into your reality. And it's not about trying to make it happen. It will happen because it's designed to happen, because you dreamt of it, because you desired it. So it's like, be the person that embodies what that actually is, what that actually looks like. And that, it's like, stop fighting against yourself. And that's the really biggest thing that I see. I've been really seeing in a lot of the conversations that I've been having with clients, with friends, with family members. It's like, if you're going to push in this time, you're going to be pushed back, because the universe is kind of going, listen, stop pushing right now. Accept, allow, embrace, embody, enjoy the process of, you know, releasing and then embracing.
And they were saying to me while you were saying all of that, you know, there's really the choice and the juxtaposition between all of this. Are you wanting to live a life, in a society, in a relationship, in a job, a career, and so forth, as a leader? Is it a fear-based? Do you want to be feared? Or do you want to be endearing? Do you want to be endeared? Because when we surrender all of the fear aspects, the fear mentality, and fear meaning using it as a weapon, you know, you can lead by fear. Okay. But you will not garner endearment and love and respect and kindness and generosity leading by fear. You will, when you lead with sincerity, authenticity, in, you know, grace, kindness. And that is the way. That is the arrival of the divine feminine, the matriarchal Aquarian rule. And so it's very clear you can continue to live life through the rearview mirror, or you can see in this beautiful windscreen in front of you what's on offer. What vista might your life take by releasing, by surrendering all of these old ways And I know that we've just added our LinkedIn guests and followers and everything. But because of that, it keeps coming in for me, Jaclyn, that because governments and corporations and businesses, it's our greatest example of where people come together to orchestrate, operate something. And so the individuals drive all of that. There is no government or company or corporation or business without people, individual humans. So there's this tremendous opportunity to be the company, the person, the government that rises up to meet this time. You don't want to be the last one on the list. You don't want to be the one clinging and clawing and, cleaving to the past, because the world is going to leave you behind. It just will. And so here's the beauty of this moment that is on offer for everyone. Christina is joining us. She has a question or a comment, I believe. Lori, she said, Lori, hello there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, she was just referring to Lori. So she was just basically having a connection with Lori.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yes. So it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to hold space so you guys can connect with one another as well.
Absolutely. So again, if you have questions from a business perspective, from a personal perspective, relationship perspective, anything under the rainbow perspective, because the universe and human design, the unseen and human design can address it all. So please put your comments or your questions in the comments so that we can address them throughout the broadcast. So where do you see, with the gates shifting from 25 to 17, where do you see, and then they're asking me to ask you this, don't mean to put you on the spot here, to address this from a personal perspective, like how, because of course, some of our best teaching is the personal example. So is there something that's resonating with you in this moment, that of 25 to 17, of the 23, this splitting apart to get to great abundance, fulfillment? Is there something that you're actually dealing with?
There is. So and this is what I was talking about, that like limbo, that of going, I've been receiving, because I'm a projector, right, in human design. So I've been receiving the universal invitations, literally from people, from those around me, to kind of go, okay, it's time. Like, you've got to, put your course out there. You've got to share more of your wisdom and your knowledge. You've got to tell more people about what it is that you do, right? And because I set the intention, and I was like, I really feel inspired to do this. So universe, show me the right timing, show me the way, show me if this is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And I've been receiving the invitations, but again, it's kind of connecting with the energy of the right timing to take inspired action instead of to try and force it into existence. So what's so beautiful is having to deal with the human experience of kind of that limiting belief that, if I don't do it now, then it's never going to get done and I'm going to miss that opportunity. How many times do we feel like we're missing the opportunity if we don't take action right now? But into you taking action, is it coming from forced action, or is it coming from inspired action because you feel in alignment? It feels good. It feels like natural flow. You're not coming up against any walls, or resistance or limitations, because it's perceived limitations anyway. So in that whole process, it's the journey of allowing, and it's accepting the process. And that's been you mentioned a word earlier and you had a bit of a giggle. You said patience, and it's something we always joke about. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely that's part of the fine print in my soul contract, to actually learn patience in this human experience, right? And part of this is literally having the patience to know that what I'm desiring is already there waiting for me. I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity. Like, none of you are going to miss out on the opportunity, but noticing and catching yourself, how are you actually taking action every single day? Is it in alignment with what is needed for you to head in the direction of where you're designed to go, or are you actually hindering yourself? Are you standing in your own way? And then also maintaining and acknowledging the bigger picture. So for me, this last week, my heart center was actually defined because I have the gate 51. So I had that full channel. So it was kind of very interesting to see how much more powerful I felt because I had done the self-worth work, right? The work of knowing and understanding that my value is not in how much I do, but it's actually in the perspective I have. And then it's now moving tomorrow. It's going to move for me, and I'm going to have my ajna defined through the 1762 because I have a 62. So it's going to allow me to make practical my opinions and the ideas that I receive. And it's kind of like looking to the future to see how can I practically implement this, but knowing and understanding that it's not a motorized channel, right? Again, it's a projected. It needs the inspiration. It takes the time. I talked about that logical energy is mastery over time by changing the patterns, by understanding what's needing to happen. So again, it's looking at where you're at. I think what the message is for everybody is kind of going, are you taking action based on a limitation because you don't valuing yourself? That's a really big one for this last week is self-worth. You know, how are you valuing yourself? How do you place value on yourself? I know as a business person as well, it's kind of going, are you valuing yourself or your self-worth based on how much work you actually do? And I know for a large number of the population, it's not actually how much work you do. Your value actually comes from, you know, the knowledge that you have, the insights that you have, the impact that you can have, the like initiating energy that you have. You know, that's your value. So it's very interesting to see how this is all kind of playing out. But again, the foundation is there because when you truly stand in your worth, in your knowing, in your confidence, then you're able to see the bigger picture. You're able to accept that where you are is where you're designed to be because it's part of the progress, it's part of the process, and therefore it allows for freedom. And that's ultimately what we're all searching for anyway, is the freedom to explore, to create, to expand, to love, to receive abundance. We want the freedom. We don't want to feel confined or in a box. And that's the beauty that's coming through.
And there's something that you said that, which I love, because this piece about, you know, is it fear-based, self-lack, you know, self-worth things that we've been talking about? But they also just popped in and they said, or is it simply, again, these masks, right? This splitting apart. The splitting apart is to remove masks. And this is something where you're able to, what's on offer is, are you also simply operating from a place of you know what you know, meaning you believe yourself to be the, you know, XYZ, and you're stuck, you've boxed yourself in. But that's an old story, that's an old mask, that's an old script, it's an old way of being. It was absolutely purposeful. We talk about all the time how everything is purposeful. However, rising to meet this time, it speaks to the issue of who might I be when I release all of this? What might I create? What might I do? What life change might I make? And again, personal, business, relationships, governments. Who might we become as a people, as an individual, as a company, as a relationship, as a partnership? The Lady Jaclyn and I are always exploring, and I love this about the two of us joining forces and coming together, is we're always open to what are you sensing? What are you feeling? Where is it leading us? What might that be? And we do so from a perspective of, okay, like kind of hands off the wheel, and we sense and feel into it, and we let, as she speaks to, the human design, the unseen, this soul plan, the plan, lead, 17, lead, follow, be led, go as guided. Letting go, and there's work and pain and so forth in letting go who we believe we are, the way we would have done it, so as to expand, open, receive. And then, I almost say 100 out of 100, Jaclyn, every single time you follow the guidance of the universe, the unseen, you go with your soul source connection guidance, your true GPS. It's that they over deliver. They always over deliver, always. And you're sitting there going, wow, that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be self-lack and self-worth, right? It can definitely be that, because we're dealing with a lot of that. It can also just simply be limitation, in the sense of I'm not allowing myself to receive, to expand, to release the old so as to receive the new. And last but not least, before I jump off, because it was your heart center is 51.
So the only gate that I have defined in my heart center, so I actually have undefined heart center, but the only gate that's defined within that undefined heart center is the gate 51.
And so hexagram 51 is about shock and awe, right? It's thunder, shock and awe. And what I love about that, I just wanted to bring this in for everyone who might have the same thing from a human design aspect, or simply, again, hexagram 51. Typically, everyone looks and says, "Oh, thunder, shock, and awe." It's like the Tower card in the tarot, and everyone goes, "Oh," they pull back, they rescind, and they're like, "Oh, that means turmoil and hardcore change and blah 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 blah." The light aspect, that's the shadow aspect, if you will, of hexagram 51, thunder, shock, and awe. But the light side, the positive side, is that it can literally be something where you've taken your hands off the wheel, and it's like a thunder, shock, and awe moment, but in the most glorious, positive, like, oh my gosh, I would never have saw that for myself or thought to do it for myself. And there's your soul plan. There's the unseen, everything going, here you are, you designed it. It was in the print all along. It was there for you, but you did have to rise up to accept the current moment.
You know what's super interesting is that
you're super interesting.
Thank you. Is the 51 is actually my personality. It's in my son, which means it's like 70% of my personality. So I literally, when I learned this about myself, there was so much more that I was able to embrace and embody, because I was like, listen, I'm literally a thunderstorm. So a lot of people are not going to like this thunderstorm, and that's totally okay. And a lot of people are going to, I want to say, not understand the thunderstorm. I can't probably deal with it, and that's also okay. But the right people will value it and will understand it, So it's really beautiful to kind of know that thunderstorms aren't bad. You know what I mean? Like it's like they needed, it's like, it's the polarity, it's the balance in life. And again, it's the I've had massive awakening when I started incorporating the knowledge that I now know with the human design to understand, oh, so this is why transformation happens through shock, because it's literally my embodiment. So not only do I shock people sometimes, I shock them back into themselves, but I get shocked in life. Like, that is how life initiates me. It shocks me, going, literally pulls the rug from under me, and I go, oh, hold on, well, that was unexpected. And then I look back and go, yes, that was so needed. So it's interesting how it speaks also to, I suppose, what we go through in life. It's like sometimes the biggest thing that you go through, or what you perceive as the most challenging thing, is the most needed thing for your greatest transformation, for your greatest awakening. Awakening meaning the reconnection with yourself, the understanding to know what are you actually designed and called for, or called to do here on earth. You know what I mean? Because you're not just supposed to survive, you're supposed to thrive. I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but it's true.
No, it's true. And here's, this moment, right? Here's the juxtaposition of this moment, using the 51, gate 51 and hexagram 51 and so forth. So it's the cosmic 2x4. So that would be the shadow side, that you're meant to change. You're meant to rise up, release the past, release these masks, split apart these things, and receive the new. You can do that from a perspective of the shadow side, the thunder, shock and awe, the tower moment where you just get the cosmic 2x4, whack. Or, as we're speaking, you can have this transformation, this transcendence, by simply willingly stepping into it all, releasing it all, stand in awe of the thunder, the force, the power of that, the magnitude of it, the way it can literally just rip across the sky and everything. So when you see it from that perspective, look at how they're reminding me of the movie Sweet Home Alabama, and how they have the steel rods down in the beach of the sand. They strike down, and then these exquisite glass, because it heats it at such a magnitude that the sand becomes glass, and there's these stunning sculptured creations that come out of it. So again, the force of that reverence, that awe, can create something extraordinary, beautiful, unique, or it can buzz you. It can cosmic 2x4 you, and fry you. Choice is ours. Choice is yours. And again, this applies across the board, right? Individual, business, company, governments. Choice is ours. Relationships, everything.
Yeah. And listen, I'm living proof of it. It's like if you're gonna fight against any of it, yes, it's you're gonna get whacked. So it's kind of like having that experience of knowing, actually, hold on, you've got to surrender, you've got to release. And what does that look like? It doesn't mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that you aren't taking action. It doesn't mean that you're missing out, So yeah, really, really powerful energy, and a lot more powerful energy actually as I looked towards the rest of the month, next month, the rest of this quarter. Really, really powerful times at the moment as well that we're stepping into, and it's so.
And we are back on live. Little hiccup to see, a little shock and awe, thunder, shock and awe, drop us for a second. Continue on, Jaclyn.
Yeah, so I was just kind of saying, there's really powerful energy at the moment. In order for you to embrace it, you have a choice, right? This is kind of what I think I want to end off with is right now you have a choice. Either you can fight the inevitable, or you can surrender and release and actually go with an open heart of understanding what that actually means. When you open your heart, it means you got to deal with certain things that you've been maybe holding on to that have been really painful, but you're ready to now actually deal with them. So it's kind of like accepting where you're at as part of the journey and part of the process. It doesn't make you vulnerable, weak. It doesn't make you, less than. It definitely doesn't mean that you're behind or you're missing out, because you're never, Abraham Hicks talks about this all the time, you're never going to miss out on what's already destined for you. And it's destined for you based on what you're desiring. So even if you don't know what you entirely desire at this moment in time, because you're so focused on survival, just the mere fact of the contrast of you knowing what you don't want means that the universe is co-creating what you do want, because you're so strongly against, I don't want this life. So or just naturally you have the opposite already available to you, for you, waiting for you to truly step into that kind of vibration and that energy. So I want to kind of give you all an invitation to know that what you're going through right now is destined for you. You're not designed to go through it consistently unless you so choose. And the choice is because you're standing in your own way, right? To not just, but release and do the work necessary to reframe, to reprogram, and allow and embrace and open your mind and your heart to the opportunities and the chances and the dreams and the ability to kind of explore. Can you see already that energy is already coming through? Like that energy of initiating something new, bigger picture. And I mean, I don't even know, I can't put my finger on it yet, even in my own life, but I know that it's there.
You
and
can
I
feel
know
it.
how to embrace it, right? And embody it and kind of go, and the more you do it, the quicker you're actually going to bring it into your reality. It doesn't mean that you're needing to create it. It just means that now you're actually drawing it a whole lot quicker into your existence. And that's so, it's like, ooh.
It's empowering. And that's, what I'm hearing to leave off with for everyone is the new is here. The time is now. And it's that beautiful statement of, if not you, who? And if not now, when?
When.
Because this is all about our empowerment, your empowerment. And again, individually, collectively, personally, professionally, governments, the way of the way of the world is the new. It is the Aquarian age. It is the divine feminine. It is matriarchal rule. And that means harmony, balance, authenticity, sincerity. And so, at what point do you rise up to meet this moment? And this moment need not be a challenge. It need not be war. It can simply be what it is, which is opportunity, new opportunity to grow, to transcend, to expand, to be far more than we ever gave ourselves credit for. So we don't need all these masks. We don't need all these identities. We don't need all this fear and manipulation and control and whatever. Bye, Felicia. That's gone. And to all the Felicias listening, we love you. literal Felicias, we love you.
Yeah,
It's
I was
just
thinking the same thing about the Karens. There's a whole trend about the Karens, and I was like, shame, I know a few Karens. Like, that's so hectic.
right, absolutely. Yeah, so this is all about opportunity. And so simply rise up. The final last thoughts is simply rise up to meet the calling of the time. Have the courage to do so. Have the absolute grace and kindness with yourself to do so, and certainly with others. And then, just as we've spoken about throughout the broadcast, align with that energy, align with that opportunity, that beauty. And again, person, individual, business, whatever it might be, make that choice. And then in this transitionary time, know that you're being nourished while waiting. You're stripping these things out. And that ultimately, because where it's ultimately leading to is this great abundance, this great new opportunity for everyone. So that's what we have. Go ahead. No.
I also wanted to add, actually, you don't have to do it by yourself.
No, right?
One of the biggest things for me as well to learn was that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go, oh, hold on, I actually can't do this by myself. Because you're not designed to do anything by yourself, because otherwise you would be literally, a lone man on an island kind of thing. You're not designed to do anything by yourself. So don't be afraid to ask for guidance. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. That's why myself and James do what we do. We hold space, we guide, we encourage you to empower yourself so that you can have the necessary practical tools and guidance to equip you going forward, so that you are able to confidently, trust yourself, make better decisions, know and understand the bigger picture. So again, like, you're not designed to do this by yourself. Whether it be you want to reach out to myself or Dear James, whether you want to reach out to a family member or a friend or another person that you feel comfortable reaching out to, do that. Like, reach out and ask for assistance, ask for help, ask the universe to also give you the indication of who the right person is. Like, ask for life to send you the right person to guide you and to help you and to inspire you to reconnect with yourself as well. Because through this journey, that's all that this actually is you're reconnecting with your true essence, with your confidence, with your worth, with your value. That is literally why we show up each week, to remind you of that. So we're always having this discussion, and it's always practical, and it's all about different topics all the time. But at the end of the day, the foundation is literally reconnecting with you, the highest expression of yourself as a human being. As Oprah always used to say that. I love that phrase. I always use it, and it comes from Oprah. Is the highest expression of yourself as a human being.
Beautifully said. And to close with everything, this is what we do. So we do have a private Facebook group that you can join. We have our individual and combined intuitive and human design consultations on offer. We have our all of our social media, so you'll see our link trees and so forth. So as you are inspired and guided to reach out either to us or to others, as Jaclyn just articulated, and you can find all of that in the show narratives and so forth. And just continue to be kind to yourselves and one another, and join us on this journey of discovery. You've been listening to and participating with us in Weekly Wisdom and Insights. This is Dear James and the Lady Jaclyn, your hosts, and we thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow for Science and the Soul, and again next Wednesday for Weekly Wisdom and Insights.
You've been listening to Dear James Live. Gain intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions, and so much more by tuning in next week and visiting DearJames.com.